right. Oh, yes, it's ladies' night.
Welcome to Rainier Avenue Radio. World. We are your community radio station, and this is part of our community election connection. Today we're going to be talking to the executive director of King County Elections, Julie Wise. We'll try and answer as many questions as we can about what they do, what your expectations should be when it comes to securing the safety of your vote. We'll get to a lot of other things as well. Also joining us for today's interview will be our very own Daniel Bellis, who will also be having some questions for Julie Wise in regards to voting, and again along the lines of the same things that I've just been talking to you about. We just had a District 9 U.S. Representative debate last night with the incumbent Adam Smith and the challenger Doug Bassler, and if you want to see that again, you can go to our Facebook page, you can go to our YouTube page, and again, find out which candidate you think most closely aligns with the issues and concerns that you have, and then you get to use your vote. It's your vote, and you get to use it in any way that you would like. What we are trying to do here at Rainier Avenue Radio is present you with information that will help you become a little bit more informed about the candidates, about what they stand for, again, how you can connect your issues and your concerns to the electoral process. And again, if you're a person who feels that you're removed from the sphere of influence, you probably don't think that your vote matters very much. And since a vote is kind of about hope, you probably feel a little hopeless. Well, we're going to help try to change that and try to remove the voter apathy. And again, along with the presidential election, there are some very important down ballot elections that are taking place here that actually have more of an impact on your community. And you have a say-so in this. And then you also have more of an opportunity to help keep those elected officials that you put in office, or whoever votes for puts in office, keep them accountable to you. So we're going to continue to have a congressional debates, legislative candidate debates, state executive office debates, state judicial debates like the one we're having tomorrow for Supreme Court Justice position number 3. We hope you'll join us tomorrow at that. That's 5 o'clock, right, Daniel? Yeah, 5 o'clock tomorrow. We'll be here with that particular break. Again, if there are things that you want to hear, make sure and tell us about it, and we'll try and make it happen. I am going to give another plug for what we're doing in regards to youth. We also have our student election connection that we're activating right now, where we're providing juniors and seniors in high school, and really anyone who wants to know more about the candidates, who wants to know more about what voting is, how the vote got started, when some folks got the right to vote. That did not just happen automatically. And we'll talk about voter suppression. Again, not to tell you how to vote, but hey, if you want to reform the system, then, we'll give you some information about, again, how to work with that electoral process. Maybe you just want the whole system to come down and rebuild it. If that's the case, then we're also going to, again, provide you with information so that you know what you're up against when, you're trying to do this and make this happen. Again, it's me, Tony B., your host for this special edition of the Community Elections Connection. And joining us is Executive Director for King County Elections, Ms. Julie Wise. Julie, how are you?
I'm doing great. Election day is just 19 days away, so I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for having me back again.
Great. And thank you for coming back. Well, let's kind of dive right into this. You said 19 days away. And I'm glad that you're here because you can either tell me the correct thing or validate what I'm saying. So my understanding is that 18 days away, folks are going to start receiving ballots. Is that correct?
That's correct. We mailed ballots yesterday. Voters are going to start receiving them as early as today, Friday, over the weekend, but should absolutely have them in their hands by Monday, October 19th. And if not, they should call King County Elections at 206-296-VOTE. or check us out on our website at kingcounty.gov/elections.
All right. So again, just to reiterate, if you have not received your ballot in the mail by Monday, then you need to take some action. Is that correct?
That's right.
And what would that action be? What should folks do if for some reason they have not received a ballot?
If they haven't received a ballot by Monday, October 19th, they should give King County Elections a call at 206-296-VOTE or head onto our website. What we'll do is we'll work with you to either issue a replacement ballot or let you know all the other options to get you another ballot.
Okay. And what might be some of the reasons that folks may not have received a ballot? We've heard about people being removed from what they call voter rolls. Are there any reasons that you can think of why someone who's anticipating a ballot may not receive a ballot?
A person might not receive a ballot by Monday, October 19th if we don't have an updated address. Our ballots are forwarded, so it might take a couple more days for that ballot forwarding, or that we don't have them registered, or again, usually it's because we have an outdated address for the individual and maybe they don't have USPS mail forwarding on anymore. So that could be a couple of reasons, but we don't do purging of voter rolls here in Washington State and certainly in King County.
All right. So again, that date is by Monday if you don't have your ballot. And again, Julie, I'm sure you understand why I'm stressing this because, and you don't have to comment it, but on what has been a very divisive electoral season where, clearly there has been the attempt at voter suppression. The president of the country has said that mail-in ballots, are going to be fraudulent. And there's just been a lot of confusion about the voter process in general. Again, my guest is King County Executive Director of King County Elections, Ms. Julie Wise. So let's talk about, to start with, what can you share with our audience right now to assure them that their vote will be counted if their vote is submitted and turned in?
Absolutely. I'm sorry for the misinformation that's circulating around vote by mail. It's sad and disheartening to see, because vote by mail is a safe, secure, accurate, and accessible voting system. And voters should feel confident that when they ballot here in Washington State and King County, that their ballot is going to be voters' ballots. We have, in fact, until November 24th to continue to receive those on-time ballots and to count those. And I hope we can dig in a little bit about Washington State as a voter intent state, which means we take extra care to make sure that we're counting your ballot how you intended. We have really great resources like Ballot Tracker, where voters could go right onto our King County Elections website and track their ballot to give yourself that reassurance that it's in elections hands and you can follow it as it's processed at the elections headquarters all the way till it being counted to confirm that your vote counted. I really am in the business of removing barriers, increasing access, and ensuring that all voices are heard.
And again, Julie, you know that sometimes what's going on nationally sucks up all the oxygen, and it's hard to say, well, how is this going to affect us? So one of the things that we've heard about is one place where you can drop off your ballot if you want to drop off your ballot. You can, of course, mail it in, but if you wanted to drop it in, is there one place for the entire county, or are there multiple places? We've also heard in California that one of the parties, the Republican Party, has been setting up ballot boxes for folks to drop in that are actually unofficial. So can you add some clarity to that for our listeners, please, in regards to your ballot boxes and drop off in King County?
Absolutely. Here in King County, we have 73 ballot drop boxes across King County. That's providing 96% of our voters with a drop box within just a 3-mile radius of their home. And in our more urban dense areas like Seattle, that distance becomes even shorter. About 76% voters in Seattle live within just 1 mile radius of a drop box. You can't miss the official King County elections boxes. They are huge tanks weighing in at over 1,000 pounds of steel, blue and white. And then when you receive your ballot packet and your voter's pamphlet, there's an official list of those official King County ballot drop boxes, again, across the region to serve everyone. They are open now. They will be open 24/7 and closing promptly at 8 p.m. on election night, November 3rd.
Now, with the ballot, is this something that you can just mail? Do you have to put a stamp on it? Is it special delivery? What is the process for ensuring that if you mail your ballot, that you can be confident that it will get to where it needs to be?
We see about 50% of our voters using drop boxes and 50% of our voters using the mail. And the mail is a secure, accessible, accurate way in which to submit your ballot. We have some really cool new features. We have this intelligent mail barcode that we've placed on every single voter's envelope. So as that ballot makes its way to you, we can track that through the United States Postal Service to ensure that it gets to you in a timely manner. We also have an official election mail indicia on the envelope itself, again, to expedite that to our voters. We also have that intelligent mail barcode on the way back to us in the elections office. And you can, in fact, track your ballot on our website. It will confirm when you've put it into the hands of the United States Postal Service and when the post office determines that they're going to have it delivered to King County elections. So you can really track and make sure that you have that assurance. I'm confident in the United States Postal Service's ability to ensure our voters get their ballot in a timely manner and get those ballots back to us in a timely manner. And I think it's important to note a couple reasons why. One, we have forged a decade-long relationship with our local USPS representatives. We also know that the data shows us that, in fact, in just our August primary, that voters did receive their ballots within that 5-day delivery. In fact, 99.96% of voters received it within the 5-day delivery time. I think the last point here that's really important is that the United States Postal Service on a single day mails 433 million pieces of mail. So in one day, 433 pieces of mail. Our 1.4 million ballots is really a drop in the bucket. And I work with the post office every single day during an election. We meet weekly or monthly outside of an election cycle.
All right. And Julie, one more question for you before I turn the microphone over to Mr. Daniel Bellis, our assistant program director. Why do you do this? Why is this something that you have chosen to be your job?
I can't believe I started 20 years ago in the profession of an election administrator. And when I did, I started out as a temporary employee at King County Elections. In fact, about 75% of our permanent employees start as temporary employees working in an election. I immediately fell in love with it, and I've devoted my career and my life to elections because I saw early on, in fact, even when I was elected, when we only had 10 ballot drop boxes, I saw early on that there was so much more we could do to remove barriers to elections, to increase access, because I fundamentally believe at the end of the day that our democracy is at its finest when all voices are heard. And there is a slew of things that we can do and have been doing over the last 5 years to ensure better access for our voters. We're not all the way there yet, of course, but we're working hard at it. And our data shows us that it's working. Voter turnout in King County is higher than it's ever been. Election after election, we see that. In fact, so high that we've issued a challenge to our King County voters to turn out this election at 90%, which would be record breaking.
What would be a normal percentage of votes turned in during a presidential election year?
King County typically would turn in about in the low 80s. So about 82, 83% usually for a presidential election. We've seen it as high as 85%. Looking at this election, again, we really think King County is going to show up like we've never shown up before, and make sure that our voices are heard and cast our ballot early, and make sure that we've got time built in to get the ballots back to us. And so we're confident that voters are going to turn out at a record-breaking number.
You're listening to Rainier Avenue Radio.World, our community election connection. Our guest is Ms. Julie Wise, Executive Director of King County Elections. I am now going to turn it over to Mr. Daniel Bellis.
Thank you, Tony B. Can you hear me, Julie?
Yes, I can.
Okay, cool. Just switching the video real quick here. Other source to can't see me yet here. Anyway, nope, that's still
It is that thing that is happening now since the isolation and technology and making it happen. So I'm gonna stall here and give Daniel an opportunity to make this happen. So I guess, Julie, what I'll actually do while Daniel's doing this is ask you another question. So we talked about, why you're doing this. Is your position an elected position or is it an appointed position?
My position is an elected position. A lot of electing going on here. So in 2009, King County voters voted to make the director of elections an elected position instead of being appointed by the executive and confirmed by the council. So we elect our director of elections. I am elected again, serving my first year of my second term. I think it's important running for office that we have more people running for office is another reason why I ran for office. So yes, it is an elected position. Lots of electing going on.
All right, Daniel Bellis, take it away.
All right, thank you. Got the video working. Okay, so the questions that I have for you, Julie, are questions that I've heard from other people, questions submitted from our listeners, and maybe some personal ones that I've had as well. I'd like to first start off, even though this is a vote-by-mail state, are there still polling places?
There are. We just don't call them that. We call them vote centers instead.
Yeah.
Because it's this one-stop shop where you can go, because here in Washington State, we have same-day voter registration. So it's a one-stop shop. We have 7 of them across King County where you can go and get registered to vote, get a ballot, return your ballot, get a voter's pamphlet. We've got teams there. So there's 7 across King County. They're going to start opening on Saturday, October 31st. And then they'll be open on Monday and then Tuesday, of course, Election Day, where voters can go and get registered. But there's still time to register online. We have until October 26th to register online, so people don't necessarily need to wait for vote centers to open. But we do have polling places. We call them vote centers in the vote-by-mail world.
At these voting centers, you can register for sure in person. Can you also vote in person?
Yes, you can vote in person.
Okay.
We've got a couple of different, so when you go to a vote center, this is a fabulous question. When you go to a vote center, we're going to print out and prepare you the exact same ballot packet that we mailed you. So if you think you're going to a vote center and voting on a cool electronic machine, I am sorry to disappoint you. No, you're going to get the exact same paper mail ballot packet that we mailed out to you. We do, though, have equipment there for any voters with a disability. We've got adaptive equipment. So we've got a Braille keypad. We've got listening devices. You can make the font bigger on the actual screen itself. But that even still, it prints out a paper ballot and we make a packet and you put it into either one of our drop boxes or into the mail. Although if you're at a vote center, that would be silly to put it in the mail. But so yes, vote centers, you can get a ballot and return it right there.
Okay. What are the hours on those voting centers starting 31st?
It's such a fabulous question. Let me just pull out on my ballot packet here. I've got this handy returning your ballot that you're going to receive. And of course, it's not listed on there. So I'm going to get those hours for you. I believe it's 10 to 4 on Saturday and maybe the same on Monday. But then Tuesday's a long day. It's 8:30 a.m. to 8 p.m. but you can always check out those locations and those hours on our website. With COVID, we've moved to event centers to do our voting centers to make sure that we have social distancing. So you're going to see, if you go to one, staff are going to have masks. We need everyone else to wear masks. We're going to probably have not a shortage of plexiglass out there as well. And our staff is having their temperature checked out there. But these are large event centers, right? So think CenturyLink Field, Accesso Showwear Center in Kent, Federal Way Performing Arts Center, Bellevue College. That's just to name a few of those 7 locations, but they're large and they're intended to keep our voters safe and our staff safe amid a global pandemic.
Okay. Well, speaking of registration, how late can you register?
You can register by mail and online all the way up until October 26th. So still got another 9 days or so that you can do that. Jump online to votewa.gov and you'll get registered within about 3.5 minutes. I might have timed it, okay? It's about 3.5 minutes. You can get registered really quickly and still get obviously your ballot for this election. And then if you miss that October 26th deadline, you do need to come in person after that. So you need to go to your elections facility, either ours in Renton, or again, those vote centers that we talked about that start opening up on October 31st.
Okay. We had a question in the comments about drop boxes. I know that's already been discussed, but what about the emptying of drop boxes? Does this happen every night, or is it all in one fell swoop on election day?
Oh, no. Every single day we're picking up ballots at those drop boxes. So we have these are paid King County election employees that go out with a set list of security protocols that they have to do to open up those ballot drop boxes. But we are emptying ballots every single day, bringing them back to our headquarters and getting them processed right away.
And how are they getting there? Is there a special truck that goes? Does it have if people are watching and making sure that someone else is not emptying those ballot boxes? What are they looking for?
You're going to see a crew that's decked out in some fun election King County garb. Their bright neon orange Home Depot style apron that they will be wearing. And then they will be in vans, a lot of cargo vans that do have King County Elections logo on them. And again, they're the ones that are going to have the key. We're always in teams of 2 when we go out to our drop boxes. They have to break a seal that has a unique number on it that has to match what was put on the time before. They're going to open up that drop box, retrieve all of those ballots, close it back up. And I'm telling you, these drop boxes are rad. They are made of 1,000 pounds of steel. They are designed here in Puyallup, Washington by a company, get this, called Vote Armor, right? I mean, it couldn't be a better name. These things are just nearly indestructible. And we know that because I got to tell you a funny story real quick if I can.
Go ahead.
A school bus one time accidentally hit one of the drop boxes. The drop box, totally fine. The contents in the drop box, totally fine. The bus, not so much. So I'm not recommending that by any means whatsoever. I don't want anyone to mess up their vehicle, but these are real steel tanks out there. They even have sort of fire retardant material inside in case someone wanted to get crafty that way, but they're a 1/4 inch slot to get your ballot in there. So just for ballots only.
Okay. All right. Let's go through the process of ballot coming to a voting center. Where does it go first, and who does it go to?
Absolutely. So when we bring back all of our ballots, either from the United States Postal Service, because that's going to happen every single day now, and at our drop box, all of those ballots are brought back to the King County election headquarters in Renton. 100,000 square feet that has been specifically designed to process ballots in a vote by mail. This is talking about security experts that did casinos designed our facility here at King County Elections. All of those are going to be brought back to that secure storage area, and then we're going to process those immediately. Takes us about 24 hours to process a given ballot.
Okay.
I want me to dive into each of those steps there.
Let's explore that a little bit. I'm sure people listening right now are curious. Definitely.
So once those ballots are brought back to King County elections, the very first step that happens is they go through these high-speed sorter machines. I'm talking 80,000 ballots per hour. It's going to take a clip, a photograph of your signature on that return envelope, because later on in the process, we're going to need that signature and vote by mail to verify that you voted your ballot and no one else did. That sorter is also going to scan in your barcode of your ballot so that you can head on over to King County Elections website and confirm that we've got it back at King County Election headquarters and we are working on processing it. Once it goes through the sorter, it's going to head over to signature verification. These are human beings looking at every single ballot envelope that's been returned, that signature we took a photo of, and comparing that to the signatures that we have on file for your voter registration. I said signatures plural because we really do keep a scrapbook of all of your signatures, like some sort of hoarders, I guess. But we want to be able to do is we want to have multiple signatures on there so that we can compare your signature. We know that people use different signatures. If you're signing quickly, if you're signing more like you feel like a legalese sort of document. So we're going to compare. What we're looking for here is 3 character similarities. So what I'm trying to say here is that it doesn't have to necessarily be your whole entire name. It doesn't have to be Julianne Wise. I might just write sign J Wise real quick. That's enough characters there in that signature to do the comparison to ensure that I voted my ballot and no one else got a hold of my ballot. That's the safeguard that we have here in vote by mail. Typically about 2% of all ballots that come back are going to have a signature concern for us. And what we're going to do is we're going to immediately reach out to you. So if you put your phone number and your email address on the back of your return envelope below your signature, that's how best we're going to get a hold of you immediately to say, we've got a concern with your signature. I can tell you personally, I have had my signature challenged 2 times. And so I know it feels a little bit of sort of an attack against you of questioning my signature. But again, this is how we safeguard our system here in vote by mail. The ballots are then going to move on to opening, where they're going to separate that security sleeve that you tucked your ballot into from your outer envelope. That severs your identity, your information from how you voted, because you have the right to a secure, private vote and ballot. And so we're going to sever that connection very quickly. And then we're going to take the security sleeves with the ballots in it. We're going to go through that pile and remove those. And then we're going to move it on and we're going to scan it. Here in King County, we're going to start scanning ballots before Election Day. That's right, we're going to scan them through. It's really just an image of the ballot. It knows an oval is filled in an XY coordinates. It doesn't know what the vote is for. That doesn't happen until 8 p.m. Election Day when we start producing results.
All right. Well, I'm going to have more questions, but I'm going to turn it over to Tony B for just a couple seconds here.
You're listening to Rainier Avenue Radio.world. This is our special Community Elections Connections campaign. Our guest joining us for this interview is Julie Wise, elected Executive Director for King County Elections. And at this point, I just have to call this everything that you didn't know. You're going to find out anyway about the voting process, and things that you do know, we're going to try and validate those for you. And things that you may have heard, we're going to try and clear up all of those myths. We'll be back right after this short break on Rainier Avenue Radio.world.
This is Paul Pearson, host of Star Time. And when I'm not meeting Mrs. Jones in that cafe for a chat and nothing else, I'm listening to Rainier Avenue Radio.world.
Tune in to Real Estate and Money every Tuesday afternoon from 2:30 to 3 here on Rainier Avenue Radio.world. Join your hosts Violetta Strash with John L. Scott Kent North, Elsie Shadon with Keller Williams Mountain to Sound and the LC Legacy Group, and Tina Lombard with NFM Lending. They'll help you navigate the waters of our volatile real estate market and offer you some guidance on how to make your hard-earned money work to make your dreams come true. Learn about current trends, get tips on financial matters, and have fun, interactive discussions about your home inside and out. That's Real Estate and Money.
This is the news on Rainier Avenue Radio.
The Associated Press reports that Mark and Patricia McCloskey, the white St. Louis couple charged in July with brandishing weapons at protesters who marched through their gated community, have been indicted by a grand jury. The charges stem from a confrontation between the McCloskeys and a group of mostly black protesters on June 28th. The demonstrators entered the wealthy enclave en route to the home of St. Louis Mayor Lyda Crewson, who lives nearby. Before they reached their destination, the nonviolent group was met by the McCloskeys, who stood outside their mansion waving firearms and menacing the group. Mark McCloskey carried an AR-15, while Patricia McCloskey brandished a semi-automatic handgun. Circuit Attorney Gardner filed charges against the pair for unlawful use of a weapon, a Class E felony, in July. But Tuesday's grand jury indictment reportedly adds a new charge of tampering with evidence against both of the McCloskeys.
And that's your news on Rainier Avenue Radio.
This could be the most important 30 seconds of the year. That's how long we have to convince you that you have power. Want change in your local community? Vote. Tired of government not working for you? Vote. Done with people saying nothing can be done? Vote. Finished with protests falling on deaf ears? Vote. Fed up with elected officials' empty promises? Reclaim your power and vote them out. You can't win if you don't play, and will never win if you don't vote. For more info, go to reclaimyourvote.org.
Brought to you by your local urban league.
You are listening to Rainier Avenue Radio.world. Don't forget to log on www.rainieravenue.world.
Welcome back to Rainier Avenue Radio.world. That's got to be like my favorite rejoiner. This is our community election connection. Julie Wise, Executive Director of King County Elections, is joining us. Julie, I'm just going to do a little follow-up here, but I'm thinking to myself, these ballot boxes, maybe they should put these in airplanes. I mean, they sound safer than the black box that never gets destroyed. I don't know. Anyway, you missed that part of the conversation. She was just talking about the durability of these ballot boxes that can ensure that your ballot is safe and they're picked up on a regular and daily basis. Julie, I just want to do a little follow-up here on what you talked about and reasons why folks, after hearing this, may go, well, wait a minute. How are they doing this? So how do you get the diverse signatures that someone may have as opposed to if they're signing their driver's license or if they're just, quickly signing off on something? Where do those come from?
It's a fabulous question. So when you register to vote, if that's filling out a paper voter registration form, we're going to take a picture of that signature and add that to your voter record. If you register at the Department of Licensing, it's going to be that signature on your state ID or your driver's license. Likewise, if you register online through the votewa.gov, it's also going to be the signature from your Washington state ID or driver's license.
Okay. Now, if there is a challenge to a signature, what are likely to be the reasons why there would be a challenge to a signature?
The large majority is just a simple forgot to sign altogether. We call it a no signature. And so the vast majority of those 2% are going to be ones that just simply forgot to sign. And then there's going to be the next sort of big group is signatures that just don't match. There is a miscompare there. For me, for example, when I registered to vote when I was 18, well, I found myself about a decade later having changed my signature dramatically. And then another 10 years later, I changed my signature dramatically. So it's also just people changing their signature over time.
Okay. And once this is found out, what do you do? Do you contact the voter? How do they have the opportunity to fix or resolve the signature issue that occurred to the challenge?
We're going to reach out to you as soon as we identify that we've got a question or concern about your signature. If we do have your phone number and email, that's why it's great to put it on that return envelope. If we've got that, we're going to email you, we're going to call you, and we're always going to snail mail you. Where we mailed your ballot to, we're going to put it in the USPS. I shouldn't call it snail mail. That's not appropriate. We're going to mail it to you. So all three of those options, email, phone call you, and mail a letter to you. And then we're going to repeat that over and over again to really just make sure that you know that there's a challenge there because we want to count your ballot. So we're going to continue to do that. And we have all the way until November 23rd to hear back from you and still count your ballot.
Okay, and once that signature has been fixed, how can a person be sure that their ballot was actually counted if there was a challenge to a signature issue?
They can always call our office or again, jump onto our website and track your ballot. There are various different stops across the way that we're going to show you on that ballot tracker. Make sure that you get your green dot all the way to counted.
Okay, and why? Ultimately, at the end of the day, how does that happen? Is does the electronic system identify this as a potential reason for a challenge, or does this happen as again when a human being is going through all of these ballots? What is the most likely way for a signature challenge to happen?
It is human beings that have been trained by Washington State Patrol to do the signature verification. There's going to be an initial group of staff that look at those signatures, and if they've got any question or concern, they're going to flag them. Then it's going to go on to a second group of individuals, team members that have worked for a couple of elections, if not many years for King County elections, going to take a second look at that. If they still have a concern that potentially it's not you, someone else got a hold of your ballot somehow, then they're going to flag that. And so it is human beings doing the signature verification that we've been trained to do. Typically see initially about 2% of voters that have a signature issue. By the time we get to certify the election on November 24th, it's about 0.5% to 1% that still don't respond to those pleas from us to cure up that signature challenge.
All right. Thank you, Julie. I am going to turn you back over to Mr. Daniel Bellis. You're listening to Rainier Avenue Radio.world, our community election connection campaign. And now, Mr. Daniel Bellis.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Tony. There we go. Good camera transfer right there. Yes. Okay. So, Julie, I'd like to talk real quick about the actual ballot, if it will be. As people know, it is a very plain thing. It offers like a name on there. If it's a proposition, it's yes or no. There's very little information on that ballot. But there is a voter's guide. How does this voter's guide get put together?
Voters are going to have 2 voter pamphlets for this election. Pretty common for even years like this to see 2 voter pamphlets. Last week, the Secretary of State mailed out green voter pamphlets. So voters should have received those. And this week, King County Elections is mailing out our blue voters pamphlet. So voters should be receiving those this week. The green one with the state has got all those, state and federal issues. And then our county one's going to have our county charter amendments and our local judge races and any other measures on the ballot that are locally to King County. And those voter pamphlets are prepared by candidates submitting statements of what they want to tell you, the voter, about them running for office. So those candidates write their statements. We do not edit at all. So if a word is misspelled, that is how the candidate gave it to us. If there's any grammatical errors, that's how we received it. And so it's really an opportunity for the candidate to tell you, the voter, why to vote for me. And then we also likewise have for ballot measures, you're going to see the write-up by the jurisdiction that has proposed this ballot measure. And I think what's really cool is you also get these pro and con committee statements. So you can see 2 different groups who feel differently about the issue, writing about why they support it and why they oppose it. And then they rebuke each other's statements about, again, why they think you should vote for how they think you should vote on that ballot measure. And so it really gives us as voters an opportunity to get educated about the issues, to get familiar with candidates. Now, I would say it's one place to start. There are other resources like on our website where you can learn more about contact information about the candidates and those different ballot measures in case you want to do a little bit more deep dive there.
And what's that website?
kingcounty.gov/elections.
Say that again.
kingcounty.gov/elections.
Okay. Okay. Now, the interesting thing about the propositions where you said where it's the four, then you got the rebuttal. How long is that process? Is the initial one sent to the other party and then they respond to that, or
That is
okay?
That's exactly right. That's exactly how it happens. Is the jurisdiction says we want this ballot measure to appear on the ballot, and then they identify the jurisdiction. So like King County, it has those charter amendments. They identify the pro and con committees, because when you go to those governing bodies, you have people that sign in to talk about how they feel about those different issues. So those jurisdictions identify pro and con committees. They write their statements, and that's exactly right. Then we share those with each other, and then they have the opportunity to do a rebuttal. And this is really, you bring up a good point. There is a lengthy timeline associated with elections, right? I mean, candidates filed for office back in May. Jurisdictions submitted these ballot measures back in August. And so we've had time to exchange those rebuttals and time to translate all of the materials, because we do produce our voters pamphlet and our ballots in multiple languages here in King County.
And I've noticed that a lot of candidates, sometimes they'll have like their pictures missing or there's information missing. Is there like a hard deadline that they have to meet?
There is a hard deadline that candidates have to meet to provide their photo, to provide everything in that voters pamphlet. And if they miss the deadline, they miss out. Sometimes candidates purposefully choose for whatever reason that they don't want to necessarily provide a photo or provide, occupation or education, where they don't submit it. But if you miss the deadline, you do not get a redo there. It is hard and fast. And that deadline too is really early on the election cycle.
What is that deadline?
The deadline, you're asking me such good questions. The deadline for the voters pamphlet, here in King County, we allow our candidates to write a new statement between the August primary and the November general election. But those state offices did not get that opportunity. So whatever they wrote back in May, they need to use that same voter pamphlet statement into the general election. They don't get an opportunity to actually update it. So the deadline was due back on May 22nd for those state races. So yes, they had to lock in what they were going to say very early on in the election cycle. So that's why we also provide their phone number, their mailing address, and their email and their website if they provide that right on our website. So you can head over there, and that way you can check out their website or email them to get more clarification, ask them questions, give them a call, ask them to come do a debate.
Right. So I guess, yeah. So if it's so early, there is the chance that things can change in their stances and their campaigns after these statements are put out.
Very true. Absolutely.
Okay.
Good point.
I want to move on to election day and results, if it will be. As far as counting is done, you said it's all done at King County headquarters, but all the counties have headquarters that are all counting, right? How do the counties share numbers?
Oh, great question. So what's going to happen is that every single county, all 39 counties in Washington state, are going to produce their results. So we provide those on our local websites, and then we're also submitting those to the Secretary of State's office. So the Secretary of State's office is really going to be the go-to place to see the entire cumulative results statewide. And so usually about 8:30, 9 o'clock election night, you'll see that the 39 counties have fed in their data to that site so that you can have that one stop there to look at the results. As we share some of our different legislative districts, congressional districts with other counties. So it's a really great place to be able to see those results all added up. And so that's the official place that results for Washington state will be located. And that's at the Washington Secretary of State's office website.
Okay. Let's talk about the speed of those results, and especially how COVID is going to either slow the process or keep it as normal.
You know, it really depends on the voters. The earlier that voters turn out, then we can produce more meaningful results on election night. What typically happens is we only are able to post about 50% of results on election night because that's all the ballot that we have. 50% of voters typically wait until election day and the day before. So we physically don't even have those ballots. They're still coming back from the drop boxes and from the United States Postal Service. So we produce as many results as we can election night. And we think it's really important to vote early. If you vote and have your ballot in the week before election week, your ballot's going to be part of that election night result. Now, we know that a lot of the media will sort of call the election, but the election isn't over until we certify on November 4th. So once we produce those results at about 8:15 election night, we're going to keep at it every single day until about 4 p.m. each night and produce those results. So if voters get ballots in early, it just means we can even have more meaningful results come election night.
Okay. So you're saying basically when these networks do call these races and it's not official, all they're really calling it off of is just the website for King County elections. Is that all the information they are given, or are they given more information?
They're looking usually at the Secretary of State's website and the local county websites, but they're just saying, based off of what we see on election night, this is how it's going to turn out. No way. I mean, we've seen a lot of races, what people call flip, right? I mean, on election night, you'll see a candidate winning by thousands of votes. And then the next night, all of a sudden, the other candidate is winning by thousands of votes. And what happens is we're going to continue to do that all the way until November 24th. So it's not over until then. But what we typically see in King County is we're really pretty much caught up with that other 50% of ballots that come in election day and the day before by about the Friday of election week or very, very early the following week. So elections on Tuesday, we work really hard to try to get as many ballots through by that Friday. So usually you have a pretty good idea by Friday of election week on those close races where they stand.
Okay. Now, I want to go into a little freak scenario because here in Washington State, there has been a recount. I think it was for a governor race about a decade ago. What does that process look like in case that does happen this election?
Absolutely. Oh, you said the recount word. Oh my gosh. But yes, recounts do happen. And so, we could be recounting, like if you brought up 2004, I think I spent all of December at the elections facility that year, maybe even January too. So what will happen is if we've got a statewide recount, you're going to have all those counties. Now, depending on how close the race is, if it's going to be where we manually take out all the pieces of paper of the ballot and bring them back out and literally manually recount sort of with tick marks of how many votes did each candidate get? Or is it a wider margin where we're going to actually feed it through machines and have it recount? But certainly, if we have a recount, 39 counties are going to be conducting it the exact same way. We're going to bring all our staff in. We're going to bring in our political party observers, which are crucial to our election process. We always have both parties present at drop boxes, at our headquarters there as we're processing ballots. And in fact, a quick plug, you can always watch us on the internet. We've got web cameras, so you can watch us hard at work processing your ballot so that we can get some transparency about all those different steps that we talked about. But yes, the recounts would start and we would be headed into December reprocessing those ballots and resubmitting those results. And typically we've seen that those results during a recount, because we've come a long ways in the last 16 years since that gubernatorial, really painful close election. We typically see that results don't change after our recounts, if that's manual or machine. But Yes, we'll be hard at work in December if there are recounts, especially statewide ones.
And speaking of, is there a closeness of a race that triggers an automatic recount, or does a political candidate or they have to ask for it?
That is such a good point. I forgot to mention that. There is actually this mathematical formula of that it has to be, a certain number of ballots apart. But you're absolutely right. Candidates and campaigns can also request a recount, but they have to pay for it. And it's not super cheap. It's a few dollars per ballot for us to bring the people in, turn on the lights and everything, and do that recount. So they would have to pay for it, but you bring up a very great point. They can certainly request one, and we do see candidates and campaigns do that.
All right, Julie. Well, I think you've answered a lot of our questions about elections, and it's already 5:50. So I'm gonna turn it over to Tony B to close us out.
Welcome back, and thank you, Mr. Bellis. Julie, you mentioned that you got started in this initially as an intern. After listening to this conversation, there may be folks out there who go, you know what? This is something that I think I'm interested in doing, something that I'd like to be involved and engaged in. What types of opportunities are there for employment with King County elections?
There are so many just varying different positions that we hire for at King County elections. We've really filled a vast majority of the positions for this presidential election, but we hire every single year. We're going to have a really important local election year next year too. And so we hire every single year for people that are going to work maybe a month long to answer phones in the phone bank or help us enter voter registrations, to just a couple of days where we're having you help us at those ballot drop boxes, being a ballot drop box attendant, helping us with the traffic, greeting our voters, taking ballots if necessary. And so that's just a few days. And then we have things like at vote centers, which is a little bit longer. So we have varying jobs that are a couple of days to a month or longer. But even now, you can still head on to King County's website and check out the jobs there. And King County Elections is still hiring. I will say that we've got about 600, 700 applicants still in the queue there that we haven't gotten to. We've had so much interest, but don't be discouraged. If you want to get into the elections industry, please do. It is a wonderful, wonderful career full of really meaningful work. And we're a fun group of people. I think we are. I guess I'm biased. But we would love to, and I'd love for people to reach out to me personally if they're interested in becoming an election administrator. But again, you can go onto the King County's website to look at that job posting. And don't forget about us next year as well, because we'll be hiring then too.
And what do you do when there's not an election? What are the things that occur? What do you do?
Absolutely. In King County, we have at least 4 elections a year. So we've got 2 elections during our spring and winter, and then we have them, of course, our August primary as well. So we've got 4 elections a year that keep us really, really, really busy. We're also running some other elections and helping with other jurisdictions running their elections as well. In the meantime, we are preparing and planning to make sure that we have the most streamlined process, that we've got an innovative approach to elections, and that we're doing candidate filing during the spring as well. So we really, truly stay busy all year long.
And how has COVID-19, the pandemic, well, I'm just assuming that it has, because it's impacted pretty much everything. So if it hasn't impacted you, that's your answer. But how has COVID impacted what you do and how you do the work? I mean, from staff to things that were put in place, from the lockdowns, how has it impacted the way you function and operate as an office?
I think King County might possibly be one of the most well-positioned counties in the entire country to administer a presidential election during a global pandemic. But we have absolutely been busy since March in preparing to run an election amid a pandemic. We have changed the whole entire organization, our office sort of structure. We have a ton of plexiglass. We've had to provide spaces in between our staff. So 100,000 square feet, which seemed huge just a few months ago, has shrunk really quickly as we make sure that we keep social distancing to keep our staff safe. So we're doing temperature checking. We've provided lockers for our staff to lock their gear in. But we've had a whole host of a lot of changes at King County elections to keep our staff safe, as well as our voters. We were really at a lot of city halls for our vote centers, and we've changed those to event centers instead so that we can have space to keep everyone safe. So even in the August primary, we did for the first time curbside service. So you could pull up into Renton or in Seattle at CenturyLink Field, and we would service you right there. And we'll continue to do that at CenturyLink Field going into this November general election. But a whole host of changes to prepare for this presidential election that we've been preparing for many years, but had to make a lot of changes in the last 7 or so months.
Julie, in previous years, folks have been able to actually go in and watch the process. You mentioned that there were cameras. Has COVID eliminated that ability to actually attend and firsthand watch what's going on?
It unfortunately has, and that's devastating to me because we designed our facility with a 1/5 of a mile loop so that voters could walk the loop and watch us process, ask questions. I love giving tours. It's one of my favoriteest things. I love to give tours and demystify elections for people. Unfortunately, we cannot do tours during this pandemic and be able to keep everyone safe. So definitely head on to our website. Look at those web cameras. They're high quality, higher streaming. We wanted to make sure to provide that opportunity to our voters. You can watch all those key core steps there at the elections facility as soon as we start processing ballots next week. So feel free to tune in there instead of coming to the loop, and hopefully next year we can be welcome people back into our facility to get eyes on the operations. But do know that we have political party observers, and we still have observers that are on the floor with the staff observing the process.
Hey, Julie, thank you again for joining us and sharing all this information with us on well, everything about voting.
Thank you so much for having me. Everyone vote, 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 and vote early.
You are listening to Rainier Avenue Radio.world, our community election connection campaign, and you've just been listening to Julie Wise, elected official, King County Elections Executive Director. I want to remind you again that tomorrow from 5 to 6 we have a debate, Supreme Court Justice Position 3, Judge David Larson, and the other candidate is Justice Raquel Montoya Lewis. It's tomorrow from 5 to 6, and then on a Monday from 7 to 8, we also have a 37th Legislative District State Representative Position 2 debate. That is Shakundi Salisbury and Kirsten Harris Talley. Then on Tuesday, we'll have the Snohomish County Black Candidates Forum, where you'll get an opportunity to hear from the black candidates who are running for office in Snohomish County. And then also, as we move to Monday the 26th, we'll be hosting a debate for the U.S. Representative of District 2, Congressional United States Representative Rick Larson and Tim Hazalo. Larson is the incumbent. We'll have another debate. That one is for the 37th Legislative District Position 1. That is Sharon Tamiko Santos, the incumbent, and John Stanford. But wait, there's more. And then again, October 30th, we'll have a debate and be hosting it for Superior Court Judge Position 13. That is Hillary Madsen and Andrea Robertson. And we're currently in the process of continuing to herd cats so that we can have more debates for you from more elected officials. And we're also going to discuss some of the initiatives on the ballot. So make sure and stay tuned to Rainier Avenue Radio. That's it. And we'll be back. Is it John coming up next? John Yasutaki and Seattle Here and Now. Thanks for listening.
This is Paul Pearson.